And then my daughter traveled all around the country whooping folks.
I love it. All right, let's talk some basketball now. Kawhi Leonard celebrated his title at the parade in Toronto yesterday. Amidst that celebration, lingering questions about his future. Now, according to our Cris Carter, the 5 teams that will get a meeting with Kawhi are the Raptors, the Lakers and Clippers out in L.A., and the Nets and Knicks in New York. Now, for the Knicks, interesting times with KD out next season, with Anthony Davis no longer available, and with Kyrie seemingly Brooklyn-bound. Nick, is Kawhi the only chance the Knicks have now to salvage their offseason?
No, he's not the only chance, but he's the best option. But if the Knicks walk away this offseason with Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant only, it's still a great offseason, even though he's going to be on the shelf for a year. I do not believe Kevin Durant, when he comes back, is going to be a shell of his former self. I don't believe that, flatly. Rudy Gay, at an older age, a less explosive athlete, we saw him suffer an Achilles, come back and be fine. We obviously...
And Rudy Gay's a good friend of his. They've been in communication with each other since KD got hurt, showing him what's the best way to do it. The rest is important. And he told Kevin Durant something that I was shocked to hear, that he was ready to play basketball in 6 months. But the Spurs, they kept him from getting back onto the court. So that was great news for KD.
And so if the Knicks end up with just Kevin Durant, then that would be a successful offseason. If they end up with Kawhi Leonard, it is the most successful offseason. What KD's injury plus Kawhi's ascendance plus the Raptors championship, to me, what it has changed is, even if KD were healthy, there would be a real discussion. If you can only have one, who do you want? Going into this year, that would have never thought to have been a discussion. Even the biggest Kawhi Leonard supporters or fans wouldn't have thought he could possibly, in a season, surpass Kevin Durant. He might have done it, and that was before KD ruptured his Achilles.
But did he do it since he ruptured his Achilles?
Absolutely. And so Kawhi, listen, Kawhi is the best option for the New York Knicks. If they end up with Kawhi Leonard, then they have the freedom of so many options. I was talking to a Knicks fan that I really like and respect, smart basketball guy, earlier, or yesterday, I should say. And the question I asked him, if Kawhi signs up and you have the option then to sign a Kyrie or a Kemba or Durant, which one do you want? Pre-Achilles, there wouldn't have been a question.
Of course.
Kawhi and KD would become the best duo in basketball. But post-Achilles, he said he'd take the guard. Give me Kyrie, give me Kemba, let me go compete for a championship immediately and not have the specter of KD's injury hanging over us. That is, to me, it's a legitimate debate. Kawhi's the best solution for the Knicks, but he is not. We're being, I think, disrespectful to the player Durant will be, and Kyrie or Kemba, their ability to act as if Kawhi is the only solution for the Knicks.
Do you agree with Nick that if you only get KD and you don't have him next year and your team looks very much like it did last year, it's still a win for the Knicks?
I know the Knicks are prepared for this. In college basketball, if you were recruiting and you were one of the top schools and you got the #1 recruit, and say, for instance, he got hurt in an all-star game. Say he got some type of transcript problem where he wouldn't be available for the first year. You know what that team do? They just sit there and wait on him. And that's what the Knicks are prepared to do. They are prepared. A number of different scenarios that have been presented to me. Yes, Kevin Durant by himself, keeping the cap space available. Kevin Durant with these other players. Kawhi Leonard being priority #1 after Kevin Durant. Now, right now, I would just have to say this. The Knicks would be in a predicament if they had to decide between who was more important. They couldn't make up their mind between KD and Kawhi. And because potentially, maybe because this thing started with KD and KD has knowledge of some of the people in the Knicks organization, KD might be a little bit ahead in that. But Kawhi being 27 could be the cornerstone of the franchise for a long period of time. So I just think that the Knicks, they like the bigger. They like Kawhi and they like KD more so than any of the guards. They look at...
And they're better players than the guards, flatly. They're not just bigger people. I know you like athletes, big, strong, fast, but Kawhi and KD are not the best available.
But they're worried about the guards from a defensive standpoint, too. They worry about Kyrie's body, and they worry about Kemba as a defender. So it's not just the size, it's who these other players, if they be matched up with KD or with Kawhi.
And so if the Knicks get Kawhi Leonard, then they go compete for a championship. That's what they do. Whether they sign another star or not, they use the other cap space intelligently.
You mean if they get Kawhi and not KD?
Yeah, if they get just Kawhi Leonard, you go compete for a championship. If you get Kawhi and KD's on the shelf, in that scenario, it would actually be harder to compete for a championship this year because you can't use that cap space on complementary players. But that's what you do. That's what Kawhi proved, and where the NBA is now, that we, at least temporarily, if not for a long period of time, seem to be past the era of the super team. Now, if the Lakers end up signing a third star, then we might be right back in it. But right now, when we're talking about the duos in basketball, you go compete for a championship if you get Kawhi Leonard. If you get Kevin Durant, it's all delayed for a year, but you are still happy because you have one of the 5 best players in the league.
But people need to realize every team that Kawhi is going to sit down and talk to, they all have a real opportunity for him to go there. He is not going to waste his time going to 10 teams, 8 teams. He's picked the 5 organizations that he feels like, with the right stuff, that he would go to all of them. He's not taking any of these visits as a courtesy. Brooklyn, yesterday, they've decided to do things as far as exercising options. They got over $40 million available. They can sign 2 players. The Knicks, we know what they have made available to sign 2 stars. The Clippers have been the most talked about team as far as Kawhi, but I wouldn't say that there's someone right now besides Toronto because the experience he's been there. So everyone, the Lakers, they have a real opportunity. So everyone's need to get their act together and act as if you can acquire a Kawhi compared to, am I just getting a meeting?
How do you recruit a guy like Kawhi Leonard? He's a little bit different. We talked about how different KD was and where he'd fit in, but these are 4 very different teams, but in 2 very big markets if you take Toronto out of it. How do you recruit Kawhi Leonard?
I think Kawhi is concerned about a number of different things. Number one is he going to get better as a basketball player? Like, he is really into improving as a player. Is he going to be in an environment that's going to cultivate learning and playing basketball the right way? Well, people saying, well, what is that? I mean, he's trained by San Antonio. Look at the way he's come up. So there's a certain style he would probably prefer to play, and I'm sure that Fizdale, he has that type of style mentality. Doc Rivers has that style and mentality. Those guys I'm assured of. The other ones, I'm guessing more, but I think it's about an organization just going to support him and his family and the things that he deems to be important. But he wants to be the best basketball player in the world, and where can he go and develop and be that?
So 2 points on this. For Kawhi, I would imagine, and I do not know Kawhi Leonard at all personally, what he wants is a stable franchise and the ability to compete for championships year after year after year. The people around Kawhi, anyone who has reached that level typically has people in place that worry about the things that they can't spend their time worrying about. Meaning, you're Kawhi Leonard, he has to focus on basketball. But he is, at this point now, an international star. There is money to be made, generational money to be made, based on being Kawhi Leonard. That is what you have representation for. That is what you have a group for. And I would think it is incumbent upon whomever he meets with, these teams, to have the basketball part of the pitch, and then, even if it's in a separate room or with his agent or after the basketball part, and say, by the way, by being in New York, by being in Los Angeles, here are the dollars you can generate. Here is the essentially free money that is out there waiting for you. That is what, I don't think it's a coincidence that the 4 teams outside of Toronto that
are in the 2 biggest markets.
Sure. And Kawhi Leonard has earned that, even if it's not what he's focused on. When you have a team around you, it's their job to be focused on that.
And don't think it was a coincidence for what he did, because let's not, we made light of this. But Kawhi is the guy that dumped Brand Jordan for a New Balance. Yeah. Yesterday at the parade, he did have on a shirt. What? What'd that shirt say?
Board man gets paid.
Board man gets paid. Now, you know you can only pay him so much as a basketball player. So for me, one of the pitches, and Nick got to it, is who can present to him opportunities that Kawhi can make, because he was upset that he wasn't one of the marquee guys at Jordan Brand. Who can make him that star from a marketing standpoint?
And look at the top guys in the league. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but LeBron's got $1 billion lifetime deal. Harden got, I think it was $300 million from Adidas. Durant has $100 million deals waiting for him, are already in place, right? Steph has this richest ever deal from Under Armour. Anthony Davis, one of the reasons he wanted to leave New Orleans to get to LA was because he was not making the money a player of his skill set should. We'll see on Giannis. He's in a small market. He just ascended. And then there's Kawhi. There's your top 7 guys in the league. All of them are equaling or outdoing their on-court earnings with off-court earnings. It's Kawhi's turn now. And he can do that in Toronto. He's better served to do that in New York or LA. That has to be a part of the pitch for all 4 of those teams that meet with him, to have their business person in the room and say, here's the money you can make by living here, by working here.
All right, good stuff. Got to take a break. Coming up, talk some football. Why is Aaron Rodgers already publicly feuding with his coach? Plus, Shaquille O'Neal stopping by. Still ahead on First Things First.
Jenna knows all about that representation, finding that extra money.
That is not what
Flies
she knows.
out and gets
Nope.
these...